Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a follow-up after my service visit from earlier today, Monday, October 13th, 2025. Took the car in. They were able to get the trim piece here flush with the rest of the body, so that's good. As far as everything else that I noticed regarding the two faults and the reverse camera not working, they weren't able to find the problem that caused that. And I think part of the problem is what I said in the previous video on, Audi customer service not being as good as it once was, is the fact that the longer you wait, if the problem doesn't persist, the codes are just going to go away and they're not going to find the problem. So you could show all the proof you want to the service advisors, and that's exactly what I did. And the technicians might still be unable to pinpoint exactly what's causing it. And I know from looking on Reddit that these MMI systems in the newer Audis are quite buggy and problematic at times, and that's likely the culprit for what caused my safety systems to not work correctly after putting my car in reverse. This is all just from putting the car in reverse one time. Thankfully, it was just one time that this happened, but the only reason why I called for service was because after turning the car off and back on, the warning lights were still there. But then after I had let the car sit, when I turned the car back on, all the warning lights were gone and the reverse camera functioned as normal, which was strange because this was after I made the service call reporting the failure with the reverse camera. And then when I got the car back, I noticed on the receipt that I got, which thankfully, car is still under warranty, so it didn't cost me a penny. But on the receipt, it said, I guess the service advisor had gotten one thing wrong, which was it listed parking brake malfunction, but it was really parking sensor malfunction. So it was parking sensors, exit warning, and reverse camera not working. And all three of those happened at the same time. So it was nothing to do with the brakes. Obviously, I think, if I'm not mistaken, if my parking brake service light comes on, the car wouldn't let me drive it because at that point, couldn't even get the brakes off, which in this car, the only means of parking is with the parking brake on, as I've discussed in previous videos. Anytime the parking brake's on, it's in park. Anytime it's not, it's in neutral or it's in forward or reverse gear. But, so that's why I'm saying if your service parking brake light comes on in a Q4, you can't drive it because more likely than not, your brakes are going to be locked up. Because you might not be able to get the parking brake off if the service parking brake light is on. So in that case, the only option would be to tow it to the dealer. Because obviously with this being an electric vehicle, most of the stuff is proprietary, meaning only Audi can touch it. And most shops won't touch it because they aren't certified to work on EVs or certain proprietary Audi components. Like, you guys might remember I used to own a Jaguar XJ8. That was a 2004 model year. And one time I had an air suspension fault in that car due to extreme winter conditions. And supposedly this was a normal thing for XJs of that era, even though the ride might be too low or it might be bouncy, you name it. But the specialist shop we went to wouldn't touch the air suspension. And that's because said suspension system was proprietary to Jaguar, meaning only a Jaguar dealer can touch it. Nobody else, only a Jaguar dealer. And some people had suggested deleting the air suspension and going coilovers. And I did consider that, but the parts alone were about $1,000, and the labor would have pushed it up to $3,000, maybe $4,000, which was more than what we would have gotten if we had just sold the car instead, which is what ended up happening. We only got $2,300 for it in January of 2018, and that was when I got the 2014 Civic Si to replace it with which lasted me 5 years. But anyway, that's beside the point, because I really just wanted to touch on proprietary systems in newer cars. They are actively trying to make all cars, gas, diesel, and electric, more proprietary, so that way shops can't touch them and you have to go to the dealer. And this is why, some shop tools have returned a lockout page in which, they can't connect to the car's system because it's so proprietary. But anyway, I just figured I'd touch on this because I find it weird that one of the concerns listed on the receipt was wrong, because I had nothing wrong with the parking brake. It was my parking sensors, according to the warning light and message on my dash. Because, like I said, if it were the brakes and I couldn't get the brakes off, then I'd have to have the car towed. And I've had issues with parking brake before. I just never had the service light come on. So, knock on wood. In this car, you might remember I made a video, service parking brake light came on once, but luckily we had arranged for service, and that service appointment was the following day after the light came on, so we were able to have it tended to relatively quickly, and they found the problem with a deep code scan because it wasn't too long after the service parking brake light came on until we took it to the dealer for them to diagnose. I forgot what we were taking it there for to begin with, but it was probably just, annual maintenance or something along those lines. I don't remember. It was many years ago. It was probably pre-COVID-19, if I recall correctly. But anyway, so it's a bummer they couldn't find the problem, but at least there is some good news in that, in the sense that this car might actually be more reliable than I think. I mean, it does have those bugs at times, but if you're under warranty and you schedule service, it doesn't hurt, because it's not going to cost you a cent for them to have it a technician look at it. And that's the advantage. Your warranty is your best friend with a new or relatively new car, in case something goes haywire, which, in the case of the Audi MMI, it does have its bugs, but, no car is perfect. And they certainly don't build cars like they used to. And this car was built during the COVID-19 pandemic, so that might have something to do with why it's so buggy, but, it's tolerable. It's not like the car is undrivable, or it's acting in a way that would cause me not to want to drive it. But anyway, I'm not really sure what else to touch on in this video, but I just wanted to touch on the fact that, sometimes they might get your concerns wrong, in which case, it's good to thoroughly go over that, review it, and you might think at first, well, there was nothing wrong with my parking brake, and then you think, oh, parking sensors. He just confused that with the parking brake, which, how dare you be human? As a wise man once told me, no car is perfect, no person is perfect either. So, as far as things with this car, I have scheduled a battery replacement in advance for Black Friday. I know you might think I'm crazy for doing that, but at least we have it scheduled, so we know a date where we can get it done, where, you know, my mom's not working and I'm not working, so I can have free time to take this car in, get a new battery put in, because it is coming up on 3 years since we last changed the battery. Ideally, if you live in a state like Illinois, you want to change your 12-volt battery every 3 years, so that way you won't have problems starting in the winter, because I have noticed this is starting to turn over more slowly. And I figured, you know, since we last had the battery done in 2022, it's probably time to get that done again. So scheduled that. We'll have a loaner that day when I drop it off. Speaking of which, that's right, I was going to talk about the loaner I got. I got a 2025 Audi Q3. Unfortunately, I didn't make a video with it because I had it for such a short time. And I'm glad I didn't buy one, because it was on the sluggish side. Kind of felt like a diesel with an automatic, even though it was gas. It did have an 8-speed, which I know a lot of Audis are going to a 7-speed DCT. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't a bad car. It was more comfortable than the CLA 250 I was given as a loaner when I took this in for a realignment, but it was not as comfortable as the C300 I got when I took this in for its annual maintenance, and it was out of service for 3 days because a technician found some safety-related concerns, and we had them done. But yeah, hopefully you guys find this video helpful, especially if you own an Audi, or more specifically a Q4 or other electric e-tron Audi variant. And make sure you guys keep up on your maintenance, because if you don't, well, just keep in mind $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow. So what would have cost, say, $500 to fix might cost $550 in the future. And just to put it into perspective, I've had to do 2 alignments on this car. One time it was $300, and then another time it was $350 because they jacked up the alignment charge. The only reason I had to do it more than once in the same year is because when Discount Tire reinstalled my all-season tires, they put the rear tires on the right, meaning both my rear tires were on the right-hand side of the car. So right here and here, I noticed that one day while charging, called Discount Tire, had them swap the tires so that they're correct. So wider tires in the rear and slimmer tires in the front, for lack of a better term. But yeah, I don't know if that's truly what threw off my alignment, or if it was the Chicago roads I was taking when I had a job in that area. But, you know, I haven't really had an alignment issue since, so knock on wood. All right, that's going to be the end of this video. Peace out.